Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mail Right podcast. We are so very lucky today to have Jaime Resendez return to the show for the second time. Jaime appeared on the show about a year ago as a Facebook expert, and over the last 12 or however many plus months it's been, he's also been really growing a YouTube channel. He's joined or has continued to be a part of eXp. And today I'm super excited to say that we're going to talk about the pros and cons of using YouTube as a real estate agent. And we're also going to talk about something we haven't talked a lot about, which is the perseverance required to use YouTube as a real estate agent. And then last but not least, if we have time, we're also going to talk about the pros and cons of being a part of eXp. I'm really excited about the show, Jaime. You seem to give everything a really even hand, which is one of my personal approaches to creating content. So I'm incredibly interested to hear what your thoughts are on all of these subjects. But why don't we go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience so that they refresh their memories on who you are, or if we have some new listeners, they get introduced to you for the first time.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Robert. Well, my name is Jaime Resendez. I'm a real estate agent here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I've been in real estate for a little bit over 4 years from the residential side. So it wasn't until 2 years ago that I started building out a real estate team. So at this point, we have one of the fastest growing teams under the eXp Realty Network and umbrella. And really, the majority of that growth I can attribute to YouTube directly. The growth of the real estate team from the sales perspective, so helping buyers buy, helping sellers sell, I attribute YouTube as well to a big portion of that growth. So when we were talking about what we were going to share today, really it was YouTube and eXp could not be a better match of topics, because one kind of helps the other.
Yeah. Beautiful. And of course, as always, I am joined by the lead engineer, the mastermind behind the Mail Right Show, the actual true founder of the podcast, the founder of multiple tech companies, including Mail Right, the service that John has been working on diligently for all of the amazing real estate agents that tune in and listen to the show. So with no further ado, John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to any new listeners that we might have?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And we've got a lot of new listeners. Thank you so much. I think we're in the top echelon of real estate podcasting now. And Jaime, just great having you back on the show. And I've been watching your videos. I even learned stuff from it. I think I really appreciate your entertaining but down to earth approach that you've been taking in your videos. And I can highly recommend his channel. And I can't wait when you get back and you're fully pushing out new content. About Mail Right, basically we're a combination of, we offer a load of fantastic tools, and we can produce a custom website based on WordPress, which you own, which is your property, and you can build on. Back over to you, Robert.
Okay, so we're going to queue up the first question for today's show. And actually, I'm going to reverse the order because I've got ADD brain. Prior to the show, actually, no, I'm not. Prior to the show, you were saying to John in our private offline chat, which I hope you don't mind if I ask a question about it, which was, you were saying that you're slowing down and reevaluating how you're approaching your YouTube channel. That was just a comment that you made. We didn't follow up on it. John, I think, was already in the know about why you might be doing that. I was not in the know, and now my brain, it can't let go of the question. So may I ask, what is slowed you down and why, like, how are you reevaluating?
Yeah, no. So I started on YouTube 3 years ago, like actively 3 years ago. And it was a couple months into it where I had the phenomenal idea of, if I can't compete with quality, I can compete with quantity. So that meant, for me, push out as much content as possible. A lot of that was short-sightedness. A lot of that was limiting self-beliefs and all that stuff of thinking that the content wasn't good. Anyway, everyone has those. And it kind of leads into the perseverance aspect. But from putting content out there, I had the idea of, well, let's just put out as much content as humanly possible. And I started in September of 2019 doing daily YouTube videos. So I started publishing daily. So it wasn't until 2 years later that I stopped that practice. So after 750 videos later, I stopped doing daily uploads. Now, the reason for that, a lot of people think that, you burnt out, you don't like it anymore. No, that couldn't be further from the truth. I still enjoy making videos, and I get withdrawals right now. I feel like this should probably be a video that I upload.
You become a YouTube junkie.
I'm a YouTuber. That's my thing. So while I have paused the uploading on my primary channel, as I was mentioning, off air, we have several channels that we own and manage and launched. So we've launched them, we own them. We're actively doing content on them right now. So it's not that I stepped away from the platform altogether. It's I stepped away from my channel. Now, to answer your question, the reason being is because I did not believe that the growth was in line where the industry was. So there's some people that are doing similar type of content to myself on my primary channel. So I did not believe that my content was where it needed to be. So the content that I share is really speaking to real estate agents in the education field, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcasting, anything that's going to help, that's modern media for the real estate agent to leverage their time to increase their business. That's what I talk about. So the content in and of itself is not, the topics are not going to change per se, but the way that I deliver it will. So the challenge with daily posting is you find a rhythm and you stay on that rhythm. Because if you get off step, so if you you're dancing, you get off step, then it throws off the rest. So I could not afford to make changes. I could not afford to make something different that would break my streak, if you will. It became an ego play at some point. So long story short, I have stepped back. So I've slowed down to speed up. I'm not only reassessing, but restructuring the way that my videos are made. There's a different level of production that goes into it. I have a whole new team of editors, a whole new team of story writers at this point. So that are actually helping me tell a better story. We're out with the old, and I guess we're going to say in with the new.
Beautiful. That was an amazing answer to the question. I have plenty more queued up, but before I just jump into them, John, was there anything that you wanted to add to that?
It's just a comment, Hammy. Do you think it was, because I just don't know how you do it, a daily, producing a weekly podcast. Now I do a lot of YouTube, but for my other business, I've got another business. Yeah, I'm that crazy, Amy. And I couldn't even think about doing a daily video. Do you think that was part of the problem, that just committing yourself for a daily video?
Not necessarily. So I got into such a workflow. So how I was able to do it so quickly is I just have a little system in place to where there were times through that journey, those 2 years, that I was a full month ahead. So I do this whole batching system where I create multiple videos at once. And, I had my team together at that point, had my editors and all that fun stuff, my design people that would do my thumbnails. So I did have a little team that would help me make the videos, or at least I would make the videos, but they would piece them together. So it wasn't necessarily the actual act of doing it. It was more of, what am I doing here? And giving you some more tangible examples. Let's just say if I was talking about, let's change this, as if I was a real estate agent, let's just say, which I am, but if I was speaking to home buyers or home sellers, let's just say if I was making a video on the home buying process, the way that I was doing it was just talking head mode. So just me sitting down, talking into the camera. Well, there's the pros and cons to that is you're able to do those videos much faster. The cons is that it's not as entertaining. So you have to inject a little bit of personality. You have to do some B-rolls. You have to do some overlays. So I know that I personally don't like those types of videos all of the time. So at the same time, with the daily videos, I could not go on location and get all the B-roll that I wanted, stand in front of a home, and make it an engaging video. So it was more about the type of video, wasn't necessarily the act of making the video.
Right. That's clear. Over to you, Rob.
Okay, so we promised the audience a little bit about perseverance as it relates to YouTube. So at this point, in my opinion, YouTube is no secret. And John and I have had an increasing number of superstars. And by the way, for everybody that's listening to the show, Jaime is a superstar in this category. Don't let him fool you with what he's saying. He's got 22,000 subscribers on the main YouTube channel that I'm looking at just by himself. So 700 videos. I don't even know how many views he's getting, but I'm going to guess like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe per month. So it's going to be a large viewership. Most, I'd say probably 10% of you should already know who he is based on the size of the real estate industry. So, but having said all that, how do you feel about a perseverance mindset in regards to YouTube? Like when you think about it and look at it and go, like you're saying, oh, I don't know that what I was doing was in line with what other people are doing. I'm curious to know, who the heck are you looking at? Because like you're definitely in the top 5%, top 10% that I've seen. So who are you trying to chase, and how does perseverance come into that?
Yeah, no. So as far as my competition, I wouldn't necessarily consider other real estate coaches my competition. Yes, they are my competition. I'm just not thinking that way. I think that that's playing too small. While at the same time, I'm a realist. I'm not also looking at the million subscribers, those types of channels. I'm looking more in the general education field. So we're talking educators that will teach math to students. There's massive channels out there. We're talking about educators that teach other business owners how to build a business. So I'm in the education category. That's who I'm quote unquote chasing, and recognizing that the lane that I'm in, which is real estate agent education, in the United States, there's 1.2 million real estate licenses out there. That's in the United States alone. When we go worldwide, some of the same marketing principles apply, because real estate is done differently somewhere else. Like in Australia, as an example, you're not looking at having a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. So I recognize that there's some differences there, but at the same time, I see that there's a large audience out there. So that's who I'm comparing myself against. But taking it one step further in the whole perseverance, you have to assess what you're doing. You have to continue to assess what you're doing. So if you're seeing growth, great. Well, fine tune it. If you're the leader in the space right now and you put the cruise control, which I feel that that's what I did, then someone's going to beat you. It's just going to happen. So if you're not growing, you're dying is something that I really subscribe to. And I heard Tony Robbins say that once. So if you don't have a growth mindset, if you are the leader, you're eventually going to be toppled, if you will. If you're behind, if you're in second place, you're working to get to the first place. So back to the perseverance mindset, whether it's podcasting, whether it's YouTubing, whether it's Facebooking, whatever. With YouTube, it's not all about the subscribers. It's not all about the viewerships. For me, it's more about the impact. So really what came to a head was not necessarily, oh, I'm not getting the views. It's just, no, I'm not really reaching the people that were once coming to me. And without getting too much into it, there's a metric that I use on the back end on recorded conversations. I speak to over 3,000 agents on a one-to-one level every single year. So meaning the Zooms and things of that nature. So I'm not talking about, oh, you watched one of my content. No, I speak to 3,000 agents every single year. And when I saw a dip in that number of where I'm projected to be at the end of the year, I knew that something was off, because the channel is larger than it's ever been, except it's not translating into people that I actively help. And when I say actively help, I'm not saying they gave me their credit card. I'm saying I actively helped by either having a one-on-one conversation and consultation, or them joining one of my programs that are free. That's what I'm talking about. But the perseverance is just assessing or reassessing what's working and what's not. And at some point, it just wasn't where I thought the channel should be.
Gotcha. And the perseverance, well, you're calling it perseverance, but there's also a bit of like marketing and accountability. The way that I am perceiving your story is there's a little bit of like marketing accountability, goals, perseverance towards an objective, maybe. But listen, this has been amazing. We're going to go to our break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about eXp. We might ask for some more pros and cons. So I think we've kind of accidentally touched on a lot of pros and cons in terms of some of the such shows, but maybe we'll actually officially address that subject from exactly that kind of language so that we can match up to what I just told my private Facebook group and my group we were going to be talking about. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We're super excited to come back and talk to you and see you on the flip side of the show. We'll be right back. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode number 313, a lucky number in my book. We're here with Jaime Resendez. I'm not quite getting that as well as Jaime does it, but
doing a bloody better job than I did.
I'm in the neighborhood. And we've been having an amazing conversation about YouTube, and so far we've talked about YouTube and perseverance within YouTube, and we've asked Jaime some really important questions as one of the top contributors in the YouTube space as it relates to both real estate, eXp, Facebook marketing. There's a huge amount of subjects that Jaime has covered, 780 to be precise on his YouTube channel, so more than I can cover getting back into this. But before we go any deeper into that, so you're 3 years into your YouTube channel. What are the pros and cons from your perspective of driving a lot of your business through YouTube?
Yeah, so the pros are YouTube. It's a free platform. It doesn't cost you anything to upload. It's a set it and forget it type of a platform where once you get through with the video, you upload it, it starts building, it starts its work. So you don't have to be there actively seeing or managing it. There's some adjustments that you can make along the way, but it's there's some management, very limited management. The traffic is there. There's over 2 billion monthly users every single month. Put that in perspective, that's twice the size of Instagram monthly users. So the platform in and of itself, the traffic is there. It's free to use. You upload and it starts working for you. And video, outside of the physical world, video is the best way to develop a relationship with somebody. So you're building credibility, you're building a relationship, you're generally building business while you sleep. So those are all the benefits to YouTube, and something that, going back to when I started, I'm going to put as many videos out there as possible so I can give myself as many opportunities of growing. So that's from the pro side. The con side is that it does take a little bit of skill set. And I say a little bit because I don't want to overinflate what making a video is, because it can be very simple, but you could also make it very complicated. From the audio, from the video, from your storytelling, from the way that you present things. So it does require a skill set that a lot of real estate agents do not have. It doesn't mean that it's impossible, but there is a very thin layer of barrier to entry, and that is effectively just effort. There's people that take years to get on the platform because they don't like the way that they sound, they don't like the way that they look, they don't like the whatever. So it's going to keep them from the platform. And really from the con side, yeah, it does require some skill set. It does require some time, but even the time, I almost see it as a pro. I do see it as a pro, given that there's no other platform that I'm aware of that if you invest 4 hours to make a video, as an example, where else are you going to be able to invest 4 hours into anything and be able to reach 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people, even 1 million with those same 4 hours of effort? Cold calling can't bring you that. Direct mail, I suppose, could bring you that, but it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Door knocking can't do that for you. Even Facebook ads, I suppose, I guess it could do that for you, but again, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. So I see YouTube as a great equalizer. I see YouTube as a great amplifier, and I see YouTube as a great builder of businesses. So for its downsides, which I consider a few downsides, the pros are just far exceeding any cons.
Yeah. When we go into bonus content, I like to be able for you to give your view about how a local agent could use video to promote themselves effectively. But before we go on to eXp, EPX, whatever, I want to get on to the grind. I think for understandable reasons, though, Hamey, there's the kind of silver ball mentality in the real estate industry, but for understandable reasons. Everybody's looking for the silver bullet. Now, something has to get results because you gotta make commission, right? You got to pay your mortgage, your costs, so you got to get clients.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there seems to be a lot of short-term looking for the silver bullet in the industry. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I absolutely agree. And really not just in this industry, but every industry where there's always going to be a shortcut. Oftentimes it's real, but the way that, let's see, there's instant wins every single day. But for the most part, you have to pay for those instant wins, whether that's Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, Google ads, you have to pay for those. So you're trading time for money, or I guess not trading time for money. You're essentially paying to buy yourself some time. Here, it's one of those platforms that you invest some time that will ultimately buy you back time without you having to spend any money. But yeah, everyone is looking for that silver bullet. Is it YouTube? Maybe for some it will be that absolutely get in there, get to work, and make it work for them. So I'll give you an example. So there's a channel, so everyone can look it up. Hola Franco. So just like Hola Franco. He's one of my agents that started in February of this year, and nothing was happening for him for 3 months. So there's that. Man, we have weekly calls. I just haven't, I'm getting 50 views in a month. This is not working. And he was doing daily content. I'm not daily content, weekly content. Some adjustments along the way, some refinement of topics and all that fun stuff. Well, we hit right in July, we hit a viral video. It wasn't planned, but we had been working towards it. Well, now he went from getting 50 views per month. Keep in mind, he'd been doing this since February, and it wasn't until July that it really popped. To fast forward to, we just ended September as the time of this recording. Now he's getting over 300,000 views a month. Wow. And that's something that, again, where else are you going to spend? Well, I mean, I'm sure you could, but where else are you going to buy that type of traction? And it's just taken off. He went from getting to his first 1,000 subscribers. It took him 7 months. Now he's getting 1,000 subscribers every 7 days. So it's just one of those exponential things that we think we know what exponential means, but we really just disguise it as linear. But there's no other platform out there that can give you this type of return. Sure, people are going to say TikTok, but TikTok, I don't think it's as effective as YouTube.
No.
Wow.
Thanks for that.
It's been fascinating. John, is this, the way that my clock worked, we're about a minute away from rolling over into bonus content. Is yours working the same?
We need to wrap it up maybe and give Hamey the chance to say where people can find out more, because they need to listen to Hamey a bit more. And then maybe in the bonus content, because I think you've covered what that original question for the bonus. So in the bonus, we can talk more about eXp.
Let's do that. Yeah. Let's spend 10 minutes. So ladies and gentlemen, for all of those who've tuned into the show, Do us a favor, please. I don't know whether you found us on iTunes or you find us on some other service, an RSS feed of some kind, but John works um, really hard on doing these shows and could use
I
the.
try, Robert, but I think the good news, Robert, is that we are becoming one of the top podcasts in the real estate industry.
Well, right on. I'm super excited by that. So that's great news. Still do us a favor though. Leave us a like on those, whatever channel you found us on. Leave us a comment on YouTube if you see us on YouTube. Leave us a review on iTunes. Let John and I know how we're doing. Are we doing a good job? Is there something else that you'd like to hear that we're not talking about? Now, keep in mind that the MailRight podcast is mostly about marketing, digital marketing as it relates to real estate. It's not all it's about. We occasionally do cover other topics, but I'd say the 80 to 90% of the show is about digital marketing as it relates to real estate, which is what my personal focus is on. And oftentimes that's a huge amount of what John is focused on for these channels. So with no further ado, Jaime, I would love to know how to get in touch with you, man. So how would our listeners and viewers do that?
Yeah, so just go to YouTube and type in JaimeResendiz.com, and that's the best place to find me. That's the best place to engage with me, and that's really where I live. So you comment on any of those videos. Ideally, there's one that is there that helps you. That's the goal. But that's really the only thing I ask, just going over there and checking out the content.
And I like to say I highly endorse Jamie's channel. I've watched quite a few of his videos, and he's got a very down-to-earth approach. And I would say almost 90% of everything he said to me, it's very knowledgeable and it's practical advice that would help you as an agent.
Thank you. I
Wow.
love the endorsement. Thank you.
Strong endorsement. All right. Well, yeah. Well, you've picked up at least one fan that we know for sure by coming onto the show. Two technically, but certainly for one. So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jaime, can I confirm that you're willing to do about 10 more minutes talking about eXp with us?
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely.
Okay. So for everybody that's listening, we're going to do our bonus content on the YouTube channel for MailRight, which is YouTube Mail-Right. That's the channel that you're going to go seek. I'm eventually going to get my shit together and start publishing all of this content on my various channels. I do an okay job of that, but it's now part of my mission before the end of the year to put some team members on this and repurpose the content on the Inbound RAM channels. So John, that's your notification that I'm doing that right there, live on the show. All right.
Well, that's always been our agreement that you utilize it from day one, isn't it?
All right. So we'll see you all on the YouTube channel. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's lovely to share our beautiful faces with you, or yours with us, or actually, no, we can't do that. But anyway, you know where I was going with that. So we're really excited to have you on the YouTube channel and join us for bonus content for episode number 313 of the MailRight podcast. We're here with Jaime. I'm just going to leave it at that because I've now said your name 4 times and it struggled with it every time. We're really, really excited, or at least I'm really, really excited, because one of the hot topics inside the whole real estate space is the continuing topic of eXp, which is full disclosure for everybody on the show. I'm invested in eXp. So, and many of our guests are as well. There's a lot of buzz around eXp. A lot of people.
I wish I was invested in it.
A lot of people are buzzing about this. You hear people in traditional brokerages talking about eXp a bit. So Jaime has agreed to spend 10 minutes giving us some pros and cons of eXp. And he had some brilliant pre-show patter about how he views channels in general. Like basically, because he and I are 100% aligned. You can have the best thing in the world, the best thing in some kind of space. That doesn't mean it's going to be perfect for everybody. There is no such thing as a perfect company, brokerage, or service, marketing service, real estate coach. It's just no such thing. In best case scenario, you have something that's going to suit a lot of people. And that's what you hope to create, I think, as content creators, as businesses. You absolutely hope to get as many people as you can, serviced well. But I'm really interested to hear what you've got to say about eXp. Like, what is it, to your thinking as a person that's part of that organization, what are the pros and cons?
Yeah, so with eXp, just a little bit of a framework. It's a cloud-based brokerage, so an online-based brokerage, where at this point, as of this recording, there's over 66,000 real estate agents that are part of eXp. To put that in perspective, Keller Williams has about 150, 160,000. So with that being said, we are one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing brokerage ever at this point. So we're in over 18 countries. So it's just an astronomical growth. Now, the pros to it is that there's different revenue streams that really leverage a real estate agent's skill, which is selling houses. So whether you're helping buyers buy or sellers sell. Now, without getting into all the revenue streams, just the ones that are commonly brought up all of the time, there's a stock component. So when you make your first sale, when you cap, when you reach a certain production level at eXp, you're receiving stock along the way. So keep in mind, nothing else has changed. You're still selling real estate. You're still helping buyers buy, helping sellers sell, and you're receiving equity in exchange for that. Prior to eXp, that did not exist. Now there's some other brokerages that are trying to replicate that at the moment, but the momentum that eXp has is just astronomical. So from the equity component, that was something that eXp brought to the table for every agent, not just the people that bought franchises, not just the people that were willing to buy into it. It's every single agent. The moment that you join the brokerage, you have access to 5 ways of earning equity. So that's very appealing. That's very enticing. Now, another revenue stream is this kind of leads into the con, if you will, because it comes in with a little bit of stigma, which is what people call here at eXp agent attraction. So what normal people call recruiting. So if you recruit agents to eXp, there's a revenue share component, meaning that if an agent joins upon you letting them know of the opportunity and they place you as their sponsor, you as a sponsor receive revenue share, which means you receive a portion of the commission. Now, what's radically different is that at eXp, the split is 80-20. 80% is for the agent, 20% is for the brokerage. It's from that 20% that's already going to the brokerage that the entire revenue share program is operated from. So it's not even from the agent side. So that's what's radically different. So while you did sponsor an agent into the company, you are participating in the revenue share, but you're not taking from the agent. The company is awarding you this, is gifting you this. So it's a revenue share that with every sale until the agent caps, you receive some financial reward for it. So again, keep in mind, an agent would already be doing this. An agent would already be selling houses. So you're receiving stock. An agent would automatically be saying to their cousin, to their friend, to an agent that they just met, if they asked them, why did you go with this brokerage? Well, X, Y, and Z. Hey, do you think I should join that brokerage? Well, sure, I'm here, right? So you want other people to validate your decision. So I'm not going to be at this brokerage and say, yeah, don't come here. Go to that one. That doesn't make sense unless you were planning to leave that brokerage. So everyone's going to validate that anyway. So this is one of those rare instances that it's a no-brainer for agents, whether you're selling houses or recruiting agents. This is the home for real estate agents altogether. So that's why it's growing so rapidly. Now that's the pros. I want to kind of pause here and see if did I do a fair job, at least from an outsider's perspective?
But I have a question, which I've wondered for a long time. You keep saying 80-20 and things like that, but here's the thing. There's a finite amount of commission that gets split. Everybody has the same access to the same split, which I think is 7%. Am I getting that right, Jaime? Is it 7% total off a real estate deal?
Talk about the commission of what people charge, but real estate agents in general, they charge 6% to the client. Correct.
6% to the client. So when you say 80-20, of that 6%, are you saying that 80 is going to the agent and 20 is going to the broker of the 6% that we're talking about, or are you talking about something else?
So that's a great question. So you want to sell your house. I charge you 6% to sell that house. I put on the MLS. From that 6%, it's common. Can't say it's standard because again, we're talking about commission. I can't make that based off of a lot of talk about commission because of National Association of Realtors. But let's just say I offered 3% to a buyer's agent that's going to bring us a buyer, and I'm going to keep 3% for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking about that 80% from the 6% because typically there's two agents involved typically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's from that 3% that I, as a real estate agent, would receive 80% of that commission. So if that 3% happened to be $3,000, then I would receive 80% of that. The other 20% would go to the brokerage. Does that make sense?
Yep. That was the fullness of my question, and you answered it very well. Which will lead me to lots of other questions with lots of other people that work for lots of other brokerages. Trust me, because now I've got it in the back of my brain that I want to do a piece of content tracking what all brokerages charge their agents to be part of that brokerage. But that's a topic for another time. So you're getting into, so you did do a good job of wrapping up the cons. I asked a single the pros. I asked a single question. Now we're on to the cons, unless John wants to add on something.
Yeah, before you go on to the cons, Jamie, I think the elephant in the room, which I feel for the listeners, I've got to ask you this. I don't feel it is, but I think it's got certain, I'm struggling for the right word here. It's got certain connotations about how eXp have marketed themselves. The main criticism of the organization is it's a glorified MLM,
Yeah,
a multi-level marketing organization. In the UK, where I originate, that is called a pyramid scheme. And actually in the UK, it's illegal.
right.
You can actually go to prison in the UK by being involved in a MAM. In the US, it's legal, but it still has a connotation. I think, and that's what eXp has been accused of, being a glorified MLM.
Sure.
I don't think that's really fair. I don't think.
Well, kind of stepping in there, it's not accurate for one.
Yeah.
So with pyramid schemes, you're getting paid off of people signing up, and you're getting paid off of the fees. If an agent doesn't sell a home, nobody gets paid. And eXp goes under because eXp is a brokerage. It's the #1 producing by volume independent brokerage in the United States. So this whole, eXp agents, all they do is recruit. That's one of those accusations that get leveled against us. Well, that's not true, or else we wouldn't be selling billions of dollars worth of real estate. We're publicly traded on the NASDAQ. So EXPI is our ticker symbol. That's the stock that we get to participate in. But even, one of those things that the moment that somebody says pyramid scheme or MLM, it is structured in a similar component. Of course, there's no denying that as far as the structure. So the moment that a pyramid scheme thing gets, leveled at you, you're defending yourself from that standpoint. So it's almost like you're fighting against quicksand. The thing that I want to share though is, how is the way that eXp Realty is structured any different than, we'll just call it Keller Williams?
No, it's really not. But I understand what both John and you are saying, and I think John's bringing up a good point, because I've heard this about eXp a countless times.
100%. But let's go through that, right? So let's go through just so everyone knows, Keller Williams is a large brokerage. It is the largest by agent count in the world. It is also a franchise model. So franchises, so you have your Subways of the world, you have your McDonald's of the world, you have everything. So everyone knows kind of what franchises look like. So let's go through that. Let's go through that experiment. So from a traditional brokerage standpoint, what happens? Well, they sell regional territories, right? So they sell regional territories to franchisors. And so those regional territories that now you have to sell franchises. Now you have to charge somebody $40,000, $60,000, $100,000 to buy that franchise, right? So let's just say I paid, maybe I should remove Keller Williams, any brokerage out there, basically.
Right.
I purchased a franchise for $40,000. What do I have to do now? Okay, well, I have to do a build out. I have to build out $50,000 worth of office. Okay, cool. Now we're good. What do I need to do now? I need to go and recruit like heck. I need to go out and get some real estate students to join me. I need to go out and try to get agents from other companies to my brokerage, right? Because I'm the broker on record, and that's what's happening. Okay, so once I have all these agents that I've recruited, now I have to teach them, train them, support them so they can sell, right? So once a sale happens, me as a franchise owner, I still have to pay that national brand 5, 6, 8% in franchise fees. And I have to pray that my income from all the agents that they're out there producing, I have to pray that that income is higher than my expenses. So I've just gone through all of this entire thing where how is that any different than from an agent coming in and being rewarded without having to purchase a franchise? So for $85 a month, which is our monthly fee, I can step into eXp. I can leverage the over 1,000 staffers that are doing the online training, that are doing the support, that are doing everything, the licensing. So now I'm able to not only sell real estate, but I'm also being compensated for helping the company grow. In the traditional model, I would have to pay $40,000 to buy a franchise to be compensated for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So from an outside perspective, and I want to get into the cons here before we run out of time, but from an outside perspective, because I've said this and I've explained this, and I'm not a raving fan of any institution, full stop. The closest thing that I come from to a raging fan of anything is Google, just because I think they're incredibly useful. But even Google has a massive amount of things that you should be aware of, cons, public policy that may not benefit you, things like that. So with eXp, my perception is this: as a company that designed and built their structure to be in the cloud, one of the major costs that they've eliminated is the hard costs of real estate offices. Not to say that they don't have some somewhere, but they have far fewer that is required as a cloud brokerage than other real estate brokerages. Right. And as a business, it really doesn't matter. You as the agent, you as the real estate agent, ultimately speaking, you're always going to pay the cost to the brokerage. Always. They can divide up their profit and their loss some clever way in order to compensate you correctly, like Compass and all these other different agencies do. But at the end of the day, there's a finite amount of profit that comes from selling real estate. And however that brokerage invests it, you're paying for that. Right. Whatever that is, whether they're training you, whether they've got big offices or nice offices, it really doesn't matter. You are ultimately paying for that out of your commission in some way or another. So if you work for a brokerage such as eXp that has fewer costs than other traditional brokerages, they have that choice to what to do with the revenue. They could run away with it. They could reinvest it back into the company, or they can reinvest it back into their agents. And from what I've seen, and the reason I decided to invest them, they invest heavily back into their agents, and they're investing a fair amount back into the brokerage. Now to me, that's a clinical black and white. That's not saying go out and invest in eXp. That's not saying join eXp. That's merely my observation as a person that's been watching them for a long time, talking to a lot of people who've transferred over to eXp from other traditional brokerages, and talking to people like you, Jaime, who talk about it. So that's just my perspective. So now though, what are some of the cons? Because I could probably get into some cons about working for a cloud brokerage, but I want to hear from you. What do you feel like the cons are of eXp?
Yeah, so this is going to offend a few people, but if you need your handheld for everything, this might not be the best fit for you. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, but the words have to come out of your mouth to ask for help. You need to at least seek out answers. So I'll be very specific. So I joined the brokerage. If I'm waiting for that next email and only waiting on that email and that email never comes, then I'm in trouble. Or if that email came and it went to spam, then I'm in trouble. If I don't invest in, all right, well, I feel that I submitted my application 48 hours ago, and I was told that within 24 to 48 hours, I would hear back. And if I don't start asking questions, then I'm going to be an inactive agent forever. So going out and seeking those answers is very important. Now, I say this because if you are somebody that is having a hard time logging into your computer and don't make the effort of learning how, it's going to be challenging. There's no way around it. It's on the cloud for a reason. So you logging in, you figuring out what our tech deck looks like. So that's eXp World, eXp Workplace, the eXp Enterprise, SkySlope. So knowing and at least trying to figure out how all those things fit together, those do require some effort. Those require some discipline in attending our trainings, attending our onboarding process. So I hear this all the time. So I've spoken over 1,000 agents about eXp Realty directly. It's just straight directly. So I have one of the fastest growing groups at eXp, full stop. So from that standpoint, one of the biggest reasons that agents don't join is not necessarily, they know that the financial makes sense for them, but it's, I need to be in an office and I need to be shown how to do it. It's hard to overcome that. It's hard to overcome that. So if you need to be the person that needs to be needs to be told, hey, can you make me a copy of this? Just going through the example and just, if you need to, please make me a copy of this. If you're the person that needs to be walked over to the copier and shown how to do that, and then come back and making sure that you're good to go from that standpoint to that level of detail, it's going to be tough. It'll be tough. So just onboarding is one of the most challenging things that every agent is going to stumble upon, especially if you're new. So that's why part of my group, that's why we've solved for that. So we have onboarding concierge to where we can get as close as possible, either through Zoom or through phone call with our agents. So we onboard them and they know where to go to get answers and get resources. But as far as that, that effort, they kind of have to meet us halfway there.
Got you. And that's what I would have said. Jaime did a much better, much more complete way of saying it. But I think that my perspective is that there's a huge amount of people where digital is like a breath of fresh air, because you can be a kinesthetic learner that somebody can watch somebody. I've always been a person that learns, like I can watch a recording of a professor giving a talk, and I oftentimes learn better in that environment than being in the room. For me personally, as somebody who's super hyper ADD, I get distracted by the kid tapping his pencil, by the other people in the room. I'm just not a very good learner, and I'm a good teacher in big groups of people, but when it comes to me trying to learn something, I need complete and utter silence. I need stillness around me, which makes digital for me incredibly productive, because I can look at you, I can look at one of your videos. I get to turn your video on in my own time, in my own space, when everybody else in the house is asleep, including my cats. It's like everybody's like, and I can then learn from you, right? But classrooms don't give me that ability. Now, there are people, though, who are exactly the opposite. They feed off the energy of the classroom. They feed off the presence of another person. They feed off that person's expressions. They pick up stuff in body language that they do in person that they do not do over video. And they're just a different type of learner. And to my way of thinking, there's nothing bad about either one. Like there's no pros and cons about either person. There's just one person that learns one way and another person that learns another way. And if you're the person that needs that in-person presence to feel like you're learning something, or to then this digital revolution is going to be very, very tough.
Just to finish off, I think it's cultural, isn't it? I think you've got to be very careful about the way you word this, because it can be seen as disparaging, but it's just a kind of set of a mind attitude that suits one group to the other, because unless you've got a certain mindset, a cloud-based brokerage, you can feel very lost very quickly.
Sure.
But on the other hand, if you're happy with that culture, it can be empowering. Where if you aren't such a, like what you said, Hamey, that you've got to go and find the answer. You do provide that initial support, but you've got to have a kind of mentality of finding things. Other people, they are still as effective as an agent, but they haven't got that go and find it mentality, if that's making any sense. Is that making any sense, Hamey?
It is making sense, but even going a little bit beyond that, I think one of the biggest things, and one of the big, just in general as an entrepreneur, which real estate agents are, is the community aspect can be very easy to be lost at eXp. Very easy, because you're in front of a webcam all day long. If you don't build a community, then you might as well be working in Mars. So that's something that is very difficult to overcome if you're not intentional with it. So that's why our group, we have a community. So we provide a community that gives our agents access to resources that help them build their business. At the end of the day, for everything that we do, it revolves around community. That's why we have daily trainings and accountability. And every single day I speak to at least 15 agents from our group, because we are that intentional with community. That's the number one reason that agents leave. They joined eXp. They may have loved the technology and thrived with it, but at the end of the day, they just didn't fit, or they didn't feel that they were a part of something.
Right. Well, listen, we've covered this a great deal. I think there's probably more to dive into, pros and cons, because I think there's a lot to be said, not just for eXp in general, Jaime, but the idea of the way that the digital revolution is transforming every industry. It's just eXp is a very good example of a company doing it inside the real estate space.
Right.
And there's a dialogue to be had about a very traditional business like real estate, because at the end of the day, there's nothing that changes that your business is an agent walking somebody physically into a home. There's some part of the transaction, even if you're using virtual to the highest degree that you can use it, somebody's got to hand over somebody to a pair of keys and walk through a door. Yep. So anyway, I think I would love to at some point, John, if you could make a note, if Jaime is ever willing to come back on the show, I would just kind of love to talk about.
I think you'll come back on, Jaime, in the new year, won't you, sometime?
Of course, always. Appreciate you.
I think it's been a fabulous discussion. I think we've covered some really interesting content in this discussion, and thank you. And I just want to wish you and your family a great Christmas and New Year. Obviously, we discussed a couple of things during the week as well, and I'll be getting back to you about that, Jaime. But I thought we had a fantastic discussion, and I think we'll wrap it up now, Robert, won't we? And I think we got another great guest next week, or it might be an internal discussion. I've got to look at my calendar. But we've got some great guests coming up, folks. So, and thank you for your support, because the show's really grown over the past few months. Like I say, I think we're on track in 2022 to become the premium podcast in the real estate agent education and digital marketing area. So thank you for that, folks. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Goodbye.